Today we learn that there are feminists and there are meninists. Meninists are supposed to be people, men who try to do things that women does. I am not trying to get pregnant. I'm just fluffy. The truth is, not all fluffy people marry fluffy people. My wife is only 110 pounds, while at the time I weighed almost 300 pounds. So it was the beauty and the beast, or the beauty and the obese. Truth and dare. Life is full of storms, and that's what I want to share as the last session. Storms of life. Life has never been easy, but God is good. In the storms of life, it can be very fearful when we face storms. What I'd like to share with us today is that when we live in a fallen world, we're going to expect difficulties. And that's the truth. Life is never easy, full of difficulties. So let me share a few points with us today before we end. Our circumstances, our comfort, and finally our choice. Someone said, everyone has problems. Some people are just better at hiding them than others. Do you agree with that? Everyone has problems. Some people are just better at hiding them than others. The problem with us when we face problems is that we concentrate on a few frames of the film. When we are going through tough times, when our life is sad and bad, when we are full of sorrow and suffering, when our life is plagued with problems and pain, we like to focus on the few frames. In those days before the digital camera, we developed those few frames. And we look at those photographs, and we always have a pity party. Poor old me, why is my life so sad? And why is my life so bad? But when we do that, we cannot move towards the future. There's so much to achieve, like so many have shared today. So much awesome things waiting for us in the future, but you cannot receive anything from the future if you are still holding on to the past. And so there is a better ending at the end of the reel, and we must believe that. People with greatest advice often have the most problems. Do you believe that? People with the most, or with the greatest advice, have the most problems. C.S. Lewis says, experience the most brutal teachers, but you learn. My God, do you learn? And so I'm supposed to share truth and dare today. Once upon a time, I hated my dad very much. In my eyes, he's just an irresponsible guy. He gambles, and he's not very good at gambling. In other words, he loses more than he wins. And I remember growing up filled with so much sadness and quarrelings and so much sorrow. People knocking on the doors, asking for money that my dad owes them. My grandma and my grand aunt having to pawn off all their possessions just to settle my dad's gambling debts. And later on, my dad left us and went off, and he was overseas for many years. In fact, his gambling debts got so bad, he landed himself in jail trying to smuggle things which he shouldn't smuggle. And so we were separated from him for 20 over years. And to cut the story short, can we go back more than this? Yes. To cut the story short, my dad finally came back and was reunited with my mom after being separated from us for 20 over years. And that to me is the other part of the film where it's not so sad. And when we look at those few frames of our early lives, life was terrible, but there's always hope that at the end of the reel, somehow there's a happier ending. That's what I'm trying to say, right? And so today is a joy to see my mom and dad together, not only together again, it always warms my heart to see them holding hands. And that's the joy that I have. Now, the other picture here, we are okay. Right now, the other end of the reel, things are so much better and happier because not only have I forgiven my dad, we have made peace with each other because we decided to do so. It's no use trying to destroy lives and future by holding on to bitterness and resentment. And so today we're a happy family again. And my dad has 2 sons, my brother and myself, plus my sister, 3 children. And I am technically a messenger of God, a pastor. And yet my brother is a missionary in the Philippines for the past 16 years, and I am serving full-time as a pastor for the past 15 years. And so as I look back, God was good. Even though our past was painful and shameful, God was working out His goodness in our lives. And so today, God has 2 of my family's sons serving Him because my dad has contributed 2 sons to His kingdom, right? And so I told my dad and my mom, even though our past is painful and shameful, we are fine. We are still serving God. Here, that's me. I said that my dad was a gambling man, and to me, he was an irresponsible man. But I was even more irresponsible than my dad, because I lost so much more money than my dad did in his entire lifetime. I lost much more money than my dad lost in his entire lifetime. I lost all my children's education fund in the stock market. And my kids are straight A students. We always tell them, do your best. And they did their best. Straight A students. But after they did their best, I did not do my best to support them. And so my son was forced, in his own words, to beg for a scholarship to complete his studies in New Zealand. I told my daughter, I have no more money to support you in your studies. And my daughter says, I can get a scholarship, but I said, even though you get a scholarship, I can't maintain you. And so there was this great misunderstanding that this daddy don't like girls, he only favors boys. And so I had this strained relationship with my daughter. And so my daughter was forced to find a job herself. And when my son was studying in New Zealand, my daughter got a job with MAS, and she flew with them for 5 years. And I had to prove to my daughter again that no, it is not because I favor sons, all right? I just don't have the capacity to finance and support you. And so, after losing everything and letting my family down, I have to really prove myself again. And so I have to prove to my daughter that I really love her as I love my son. My wife said those words, I regretted marrying you. And that was 17 years ago. I regretted marrying you. Ouch. And those were the few frames, if I were to develop them, I can have a pity party, crying my eyeballs out. And so many of us would have such experiences. And so I was angry with myself, angry with the mistakes that I made. And what can we do when we are having such failings in our life? So I decided to make a U-turn to be a better person. Because someone said it's 10% what happens to you, but 90% how you respond to it. Do you agree with that? Jack Sparrow of The Pirates of the Caribbean said this. The problem is not the problem. The problem is the attitude towards the problem. So 10% is what happens to us, but 90% is how we respond to it. And so I decided to eat humble pie, repent, really decided to do something. And so I went into Bible seminary, and in 2010, I graduated with Masters in Ministry. The same year that I graduated in Masters in Ministry, I was commissioned as a church elder of Agape Chapel, which is a church nearby. As of July, I am being called back to Ipoh to be an elder of another church in Ipoh. And so, ever since I turned back, I have been serving God, telling people about this God who loves us, and telling people that there's such a thing called faith, hope, and love. And that has been what my life has been all about for the past 16 years. God gives miracles to those who believe. God gives courage to those who have faith. God gives hope to those who dream. And God gives love to those who would accept. Faith, hope, and love. Today, my children are grown up. They don't hate me anymore. My daughter is very convinced that I love her as much as I love her brother. Things are looking up very well. And my wife, who said these words, "I regretted marrying you 16, 17 years ago," we are celebrating our 33rd wedding anniversary in August next month. And she said she loved me this morning. She still loves me. My son is married, and so is my daughter. And so if we were to look at those few frames and have a pity party, we cannot reach out for the future while we're still holding on to the rotten past, right? And so we must not do that. 10% is what happens to us. And the truth is, life is difficult. But 90% is how we respond to it. Today, my daughter tried, since you cannot support me in university, I will earn my money and I'll go and support myself in the university. She did enroll in Open University, but after a while she gave up. And today she realized that, hey, I've been having my dream job all along. The fact that I didn't go to university, it was a blessing in disguise. And so for the past 5 years, she's been flying with Singapore Airlines. She's seen the world, and she is so happy with her job, so to say. And so it was a blessing in disguise. And part of her job, she meets celebrities like that, actors like Carl Penn, and so many other celebrities that she serves in business class. And today, my family, they don't hate me anymore. There's a much happier ending, or we're heading towards a more happier ending. Life is full of storms. That's the truth. But we must dare confront the storms with the comfort that we have. My comfort is from God. I trust in God's complete sovereignty. That means He tells me that not one hair of my head, He knows it. Every hair on my head, that's how much He is in control. Not one sparrow falls down and dies without His permission. I'm worth more than those sparrows. I believe in God's complete sovereignty. I believe in God's infinite wisdom, that He will not allow me to suffer more than I can bear. And I also believe in His perfect love, that all things that happens in my life happens for my good, and that's my comfort. Our choice, someone said every test in our life makes us either bitter or better. Our every problem comes to break us or make us. The choice is ours whether we become a victim or a victor, and that's our choice. 10% is what happens to us. 90% is how we respond. The sad thing is, there are many people who quit. They look at those few frames, not having hope that the rest of the reel, there may be a happier ending somewhere. They either leave the relationships or they leave their lives. They take their own lives and they just give up. The truth is, life is hard. If only we dare confront it with the faith, hope, and love that can be ours. The true measure of man, someone said, is not how he behaves in moments of comfort and convenience, but how he stands at times of controversy and challenge. In other words, life or a person is like a tea bag. We are like the tea bags. We never know what flavor we are till we're in hot water. Life or people are like tea bags. We never know what flavor we are till we're in hot water. So there's a reason for the storms in our lives. There's a reason for the pain we go through, because God is in sovereign control. And once the storm is over, you won't remember how you made it through, how you managed to survive. You won't even be sure whether the storm is really over. But one thing is certain, when you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person you walked in. That's what this storm's all about. Problems are like washing machines. They twist, they spin and knock us around, but in the end, we come out cleaner, brighter, and better than before. Agree? And so, we can always make a U-turn. We can always change for the better. Don't hold on to a lousy past, to a painful past. You want to reach out for a better future. You cannot reach out for a better future if you're still holding on to a painful past. Susan Boyle, when she first entered Britain Got Talent, she was 49 years old, unemployed. If she were to just give up, she will never be the Susan Boyle that she is today. A millionaire, and so well known, and the world would have missed her voice. Nick Vujicic, if he had taken his life just because he doesn't have hands and legs, we would have missed a very precious individual. But today, he is what he is because he hung on to faith, hope, and love. When Jesus hung on the cross on Good Friday, everybody cheered, everybody laughed. He really looked like a loser on the cross. And all his followers thought that they had made a bad investment by following him for the 3 years that he was serving with him. But Sunday's coming. He would die on Friday, but he was to rise again on Sunday. Some of us, we look like losers today. Some of us are going to our Fridays today. But Sunday's coming, right? Sunday's coming. Today may be the Friday of our lives, but Sunday's is coming. When we look at a few frames, there's not much to look forward to. We must believe and hope that the rest of the reel looks so much better. One thing I end with is, sometimes people don't want you to have a happy ending. They wouldn't allow you to have that happy ending. So they continue to make our lives miserable. But still, whatever they do is 10% what happens to us. 90% is still how we respond to it, right? The guy who said the same quote, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how we respond, is the same guy who tells us don't share with people your problems because 80% don't care and the other 20% are happy that you have problems. There are people like that. But no, Because if we share our problems, some people will be encouraged to look forward to a better ending, right? And I'm very thankful today, as I stand here, that I'm very thankful for my God that I serve. I'm very thankful for my family and friends who have assisted me so much to ensure that the rest of the reel of my film has a better ending. And I really want to thank them, my God, my family, my friends. And sometimes we have to realize that perhaps that's what love does. That's what love does. Love gives us the hope to make it all worthwhile and the faith to believe that all things will work out together for our good. Thank you so much.